Hey guys, Jerry with EPL Solutions here. Ever wondered how you can get a full jetting arrangement inside of a compact little vehicle? Let's take a look. Let me show what we have here. This is one of the more popular jetters in the country right now, the Brute by Jetters Northwest. We're the Southern California dealer for them. And over the years of supporting their product, we found that it works very well in small vehicles like this Transit Connect by Ford. This is a 9-gallon of 4,000 psi unit with a hose reel guide, motorized reel control, and a really well constructed wireless remote control system. So designed to be fully functioning for one technician at a time. Having a helper is always nice, but like our very learned boss over here named John says, boys, this is a helper that's never tired, he's never hungry, and he always shows up on time. So I think that it'd be a lesson well learned from a man who had many helpers over his many years of jetting. All right, let's talk about your helper here, the wireless remote control. This does pretty much everything you need to do right here, but from a distance away. So if we're bringing your secondary hose reel into a kitchen area, doing some floor drains in a restaurant, doing the side access test tee on a kitchen sink line, you don't want to use your 3/8 hose all the time. You want to be able to use your 3/16 hose or 1/4-inch hose for that matter, and get all the function of these controls over there to where your helper can do it with you. So for this, I can use, I'm going to turn the remote control on. For this, I can use my engine on. That's the equivalent to turning the key into the run position, which activates my fuel pump. Then hold the start button down, which turns on my starter. Right? And shut the engine off, which turned off the fuel pump. Now the engine will not turn on until I push that again and do the same sequence. If I'm using the secondary reel, I'll bring my throttle down to idle and regulate my pressure somewhat down to about 2,000 or so PSI. And then I will bring this out with me and see my pressure on my pressure gauge that I'm bringing with me too. I would rather see what pressure I'm working with on an actual pressure gauge. And then I'll just throttle up to reach that full pressure. So I can regulate my pressure with my throttle up and down. I can also activate my hose reel, and I can turn the water on and off. There is a 3-way ball valve that I have. So this is a particularly useful tool, helper, like we like to call it. Now, let's talk about the function in manual mode for the truck mount jetter. This one has all the controls that you need right here at your fingertips in the front. Key, it's a key start. Manual throttle, it's an electrical throttle, but I have a toggle switch to manually activate it. And my water on and off valve for water on to the 3/8 hose reel here. Water off diverts the water back to my 100-gallon buffer tank in the back. Pressure regulator, flow regulator and loader valve, and pulsation valve. I can also clean my water filter right here. I don't like getting into the truck and all the configurations back there if I can help it. I don't want to have to make an emergency jump to the back of the jetter to shut the water off or turn the key off or something. I'd rather have it all right here. There's a way for us to put this on the side door, on the other side door. I can move this over here. There's a lot of places that this little 4-foot long skid mount jetter will work. This little Transit Connect tends to make it available for people to go into parking garages, getting into little alleyways around Long Beach or LA, Santa Monica. The smaller your truck jetter is, the better. It's funny to call it a truck jetter because it's so small. But it's amazing you can put a power pack inside this little Transit Connect. It tends to work for most people around here in California and abroad. They did a really, really good job. And I love showcasing these because it unlocks so much potential when you get a small compact jetter in a small compact vehicle. You can go anywhere with these things. All right, let's talk about how to utilize secondary hose reels since this fixed jetter can't go anywhere. Now I have a 3/8 portable reel here with a built-in pressure gauge, I can put the same nozzles on here as I have on this hose here. So this is an extension of my mainline hose. So if I was working 200 feet away, 300 feet away, I can bring this out to that clean out access point, and I'll hook up my jetter here to the quick connect to the side, and there I have it. It's connected in line. One thing that I would recommend is getting an inline ball valve. So even though I am using the wireless remote control and turn the water off and on with the wireless, you don't have 100% certainty. Always think of a backup plan, because if I'm working inside of a parking garage, it's a metal structure. If I'm working in an office building, it's a metal structure, and I need to make sure that I can turn my water off and on always, especially if I'm working inside. So an inline ball valve, it's as simple as that. My pressure gauge is right there. So I can utilize that pressure gauge to see what pressure I'm working at. So when I throttle up and down with my remote control, I see exactly what I'm getting. Same as I would, or very, very close to what I would here. There's something called friction loss through hoses. This is 500 feet total now on 3/8 hose and 9 gallons a minute. I will lose some pressure because of that length. So this pressure gauge here will reflect the pressure loss through this hose. There is a pressure loss through the end of this 200-footer hose on here as well. So the shorter your hose lengths, the more pressure you have at the end. So I'm going to use the required length. I'm not going to overcompensate and have 400 feet here and 400 feet here. I'd much rather have 300 feet here and like 150 or 200 foot here if that's all that I'm going to require. Maximizing my pressure, my efficiency, faster job. So what I would like to show you now is a 3/16 hose reel. One of the more popular choices for anybody doing any serious jetting, because you can do 2-inch floor drains, 3-inch floor drains, area drains, really sharp corners. You can do even shower drains or tube traps. It's a very versatile hose. I prefer the stainless steel because it's less abrasive on the cast iron. It tends to just go down a pipe a lot faster and easier because it doesn't have the plastic braiding on the outside, plastic coating, pardon me. It's stainless steel, so it's not going to get cut. Really useful hose. The pressure gauge I put in line just like this ball valve here. Always good to have a backup, like I said. So I have a pressure gauge and a ball valve I can place anywhere in line to this secondary hose reel. Water on, water off. Do my thing with that. 2-inch test tees, kitchen drains, and I will have full function with my helper here to turn the water off and on, pressure up and down, even pull back some of the slack on this hose. If I just have too much hose hanging around and it's becoming a problem, turn this on, roll some of it up. So there's a lot of things I can do from here. It's my helper. Now, notice that I didn't have to worry about how the hose winds up all the time. As nice as this hose reel button is, you do have to make sure that it doesn't become an absolute horror show here with the hose reel. You want to make sure your hose is nice and tidy on this thing. Don't get too carried away using that button without looking at how it's whirling up. I do rely on these rollers to keep my hose nice and tidy, but I also understand that the function of these rollers is to keep the hose on the hose reel. When you turn the pressure off and on, this hose jostles. When you turn the pressure off under full pressure, it will actually unravel a little bit. And if you're at a site and you can't see how the hose is behaving, this hose reel protector keeps this hose from falling off to the side and getting burnt on the exhaust. It's a very sad day when you are on a job and then you lose pressure. What happened? And then you go back to your jetter, still running, and there's just water just gushing all over the place. It's a very scary moment. So having the hose reel protector here because you accidentally had the hose get burnt on the exhaust is a handy extra to have. So I'd highly recommend getting this hose reel protector here, the roller guide. Thank you so much for watching. This is Jerry with EPL Solutions. If you needed a quote on any of the jetters that we sell, please call 714-453-9760. Hopefully this video helps you have some insight on what your possibilities are. Have fun.